everyone, it's Julia. Thank you so much everybody who's joining me today, and I hope you are having a good summer. I know things are different right now and I'm just making the best of it myself. I wanted to thank everybody who left a comment on my last video about sewing with metallic threads. I really learned a lot. Many of you mentioned the thread director, which is just something that you put on your sewing machine so that the thread comes off correctly, so that it doesn't coil and twist, and which is always a problem with metallic threads. And I have never even heard of one, so I will be purchasing one of those, and also metallic thread needles, which I have never had either. So I want to do an upcoming video on just what I've learned and do a project. This last week, I have been organizing my sewing room. I had a lot of family with me too, and so I did not get a video up, but I do want to share with you today what I did with my sewing room. I have been living in this place, or we moved in, actually it's been 2 years now, and we were just renting this townhouse. I never had a place for my paper crafting items, my art supplies, my stamps. I've always had to dig them out. I had them just in a cupboard. And you know how that is. You just don't use them the way you normally would like to use them. I have a really small sewing room. It's like 10 by 10, but I got a spot for my paper crafting and art supplies set up, and I wanted to share that with you today. And then I have a little project too, using some of those supplies, because I missed them, and I just thought I was really in the mood once I got everything set up. So I'm gonna take you over to my little area and show you that, and let's get started. Okay, here is the spot. I actually took a big bookcase that was in this closet out of there, did some condensing, and was able to get all of my art supplies and paper crafting items right in this closet. I did put in a little desk. It's a very old primitive desk that I did have as a display desk at my little summer shop, and I took that here. It fits perfect in here. I am still able to shut the doors of my closet so that everything can be just hidden away. Got all my markers and my books and my Inktense. Everything's organized, and then up on the top I have these bins that they're like drawers that just pull out, where I have all my just my adhesive and my inks, my stencils, all my good stuff up there. And for the majority of my stamps, I'm just swing you around, I had this rack at the flea market, and I would display some of my fabric cuffs in, but I brought it back and I set it up, and I didn't want to hang it on the wall because we are renting. It's quite heavy, and I just thought that could be a disaster. And so I just set it right on my IKEA rolling cart. And it's very stable. I was able to finish up putting some of my paints and that type of thing in my IKEA cart. And then this wood shelf or cube thing that just sits on the top. I actually picked this up several years ago at an antique shop. I'm not certain what the original use was for it, but it works wonderful for all my wooden stamps and my ink pads, and just stuff that I need, and just I can now see it and I can just grab it, and it just works so much better than having it shoved in a bin or a tote and put underneath a cupboard, and where they were before. So I want to get started on the project. Like I said, I was really excited to work with my rubber stamps and some of my other art supplies. So let's get started. I am making new embellishment kits for my Etsy store, and one of the things in the embellishment kits is ribbon. I'm going to be stamping on this. It's just an unbleached muslin that I have torn into approximately 1-inch wide strips, just ironing that flat. And I'm going to be rubber stamping this, and I'm using the Unity Stamp Company stamps. This was a kit that I In 2016, I believe I did it for about 6 months, and once a month I would get a kit. I'm going to list it all down below for you. It was a lot of fun. Every month I got another rubber stamp kit, and I am using my archival inks for this, which are waterproof inks. And I'm using in 3 different colors here. And all the colors will be listed down below for you and all my supplies. I'm just using that Free Spirit stamp. And just going to be stamping. I believe I made 12 of these kits. So I have 12 strips here that I am stamping. People have asked me about some hints on stamping fabric. And you just want to hold it for a little bit. I don't wiggle it at all. I just firmly just stamp it and just let that ink transfer a little bit longer than with paper. And then you usually get a pretty good impression on fabric. Now on to the next color. This is the teal color that I'm using. And again, just stamping all these all the way down. This took a little bit of time, but then I had 12 kits to put into my Etsy store. I will be doing my next video. I believe I'm going to have it out Friday or Saturday for you. A project that I made using one of these kits. And then on to the last color, the orange color. And the finished ribbon. I also want to add some fabric embellishments to my kit. So I picked out 3 different fabrics. I'm going to be using Heat and Bond Light for the back of these little embellishments or little appliques. And I'm going to be using my Sizzix Big Shot to cut these. I've got 2 different dies, the Artful Arrow. I'm going to include 3 of those, 1 of each color. And then I also have the Duo Feathers, Feather Duo I believe it's called. And again, everything will be listed down below. Both of these are the Sizzix Bigz dies that cut fabric very easily. Just ironing a piece of the Heat and Bond Light to the back of each of these fabrics. Cutting them out. And then running them through my Big Shot. I have all 3 layers and making my sandwich. And this one had a little bit of a difficulty cutting. I used this die for leather a lot. I've cut a lot of these feathers out with leather, and it did dull the die a little bit, and so I did add paper to the top to give it a little shim for the next cuts, and that it worked just fine. I'm also going to be making a fun tag and using 3 different rubber stamps for this, and I'll also list all these down below. The feather stamp is another one of the Unity company kit for another different month. And this is a Delusion stamp, this background stamp that I'm first going to be using. This is another permanent ink, and I'm going to, in a color, I believe this is the vintage photo color. I'm also going to be using some of the Distress Oxides. They're fun to work with. They blend really easily. These are not waterproof, but I'm putting it on a tag, which isn't going to get wet anyway. And then using that Free Spirit stamp in a black archival ink, and then adding an arrow. And then just putting a piece of fiber on the top. And now to put the kit together, I'm just going to be wrapping my ribbon around the tag. I'm going to be pinning the top of it with a little bulb pin, safety pin, with a couple buttons. adding the embellishments to the back and then sliding it into a cellophane little bag. I'm going to include some pictures. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the project, which will be my next video. Thanks so much, everybody who's joined me today. Bye for now.